What I have seen on the ground and data reflects that people of the country have already made up their mind to vote the current Prime Minister back and give him the third term. And as I tell you that people don't vote confusion, people always want clarity. And at the other side, there is no clarity of leadership. Women of the country, 90% are with Narendra Modi. Since Narendra Modi came into scene, the BJP increased its vote tally by 15 crore votes. And since Rahul Gandhi has come in the national scene, he's not added any significant vote to Congress's tally. I had assigned probabilities of what could happen, and after travelling across the country, I could sense that people are already making up their minds.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Statesman Talk with me, Deepti J. Verma. Today we are being joined by Pradeep Bhandari, who's a famous author, psephologist and founder Jan Ki Baat. Thank you for joining us, Pradeep.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, for the uninitiated, what is a psephologist?
A psephologist is an individual who predicts Indian elections or any elections, and the job is to predict an election based on large data set and understanding what does the Indian voter think, how does an Indian voter think, what drives an individual's voting choices. So that's what the job of a psephologist is.
So almost a week to go for the results now. You're a man much in demand.
Yes, so this is my 41st election. We had predicted the 2019 elections also accurately, and we did that in a pre-poll. See, there are two types of psephologists generally work in two ways. A is when you sit in Delhi or Mumbai and then predict what is happening across the country, where you are not exposed to the ground reality. The other way of doing it is, which is how we do, and this is a very unique way of doing it in the country, is where I have a team of researchers across every constituency of India, and I myself travel across every constituency of India. I have travelled 400 Lok Sabha constituencies, 25 states, 1 lakh kilometers, which has not been done by anybody till date in the country. And my objective is simple, that when a politician travels on the ground to get votes, an individual who has the responsibility to tell what the people of India are thinking, it is their duty to travel on the ground. Then only they can understand how the voters are thinking. Unfortunately, in our country, majority of people who are in this business do not do it as passionately and seriously as it has to be. And they work with a lot of secondary
They're armchair psephologists, you mean?
Yes, to an extent, for sure. That is why if you see a lot of their grammar is on ifs and buts. We talk about seats. So if you ask me who's winning Amethi, I can tell you. If you ask me who's winning Raebareli, I can tell you.
We'll get to all of that.
I can. So we do, see, you can get right, an election right or wrong, that's fine. But you have to be honest to the job. And it is not possible to understand the voters' mind without meeting the voters and building a model. So we build that model.
But tell me something. Sometimes people say that a voter doesn't make up their mind up till 2 days of the voting. Sometimes people change their mind last minute. Then how accurate is this data collection?
So there are two types of polls. One is an opinion poll which happens before the election, and one is the exit poll which happens on the day of election. So this change in the mindset of the Indian voter, if it happens, it is tracked at the time of voting. There are two types of elections. There are certain elections where the voters already have made up their mind. There's some chunk of voters which decide on the voting day. So this is what we call as a swing voter. And
that's the smaller the election, the more people swing?
You cannot necessarily say. It depends on the type of an election. So if an election is a wave election, which means that it is a one-sided election, in that one-sided election, the baseline of the election is already decided, which means that it is either the pro-incumbent or the anti-incumbent. It is then the quantity of the pro-incumbency or anti-incumbency which you have to track with the period of time, but it does not change the baseline of the entire election. An election which is a neck-and-neck election, say for example, the Madhya Pradesh elections 2018 was a neck-and-neck elections where the vote margin between the BJP and the Congress was just 1 percentage points and only 8 seats different. So that is where we tracked it by seat, and it had to be tracked till the last moment. So those are elections which really have to be tracked at the wire. But elections which are wave elections, you know one is coming or the other is losing. It's just the number which you have to track.
And what is the mood right now?
So based on traveling across the ground and getting the data from the different parts of the country, what I have seen on the ground and data reflects that people of the country have already made up their mind to vote the current Prime Minister back and give him the third term.
You had written a book called Modi 3.0, which was released in?
A month back.
A month back. So you had collected all this data, with the build up to the book. You said it took you 7 months to write it?
Yes. So the thought process of the book Took me around 6-7 months, but I started to pen the events from the day the Pran Pratishtha in Ayodhya, historic Pran Pratishtha in Ayodhya.
Okay,
January 22nd, if I'm not wrong. And that is where this is where I came to the conclusion that this is the start of people making up their mind. And the voting outcomes were till the day the election was announced.
Yeah.
And I had assigned probabilities of what could happen. And after traveling across the country, I could sense that people are already making up their mind and there is no confusion in the mind of the Indian voter.
But do you think that wave has subsided somewhere or has lost its steam along the way?
Let us understand it, and I'll give you a very simple illustration to understand it. A husband and a wife, when they enter into a marriage, or let's say when an individual has a love affair, a man or a woman, initially the expression of love is very explicit. But as the marriage progresses, the bond deepens. But the expression of love is not that explicit for the people, right? But the bond becomes further deep, nuanced, or you separate. There are two ways of looking at it. Similarly, for a leader who's so connected to the ground and the grassroots, initially in 2014, you felt that, oh, there is a huge anti-incumbency against the Congress and you give the leader a chance. As time progressed and as the bond between the public and the leader increased further, it became more emotional in nature. You may not see that being reflected and with people shouting Modi, Modi, Modi. Now Modi is in the heart of the people. Initially, they wanted to shout Modi, Modi, Modi.
So that's the difference between 2019 and 2024.
That's the difference between 2024 and 2019.
2019.
And 2019 and 2014.
2019 was you think is the
2019
loudest display.
Because that was for the first time the voter which had voted out the Congress was voting that we want Modi. This time their bond is further solidified. So either the voter will express that I want to be in this political marriage with Narendra Modi, or I want a divorce. I don't see that expression of divorce at all. And if you remember that in a marriage, when divorce happens, it generally is known that it is happening. Whereas in the marriage,
it's not overnight.
It's not overnight. And when the marriage is there, it is there, right? It deepens. You don't get to hear love stories of couples who've been in marriage for 10 years, no? But that bond is there. That family is there. Similarly is in politics. And that is why I say, particularly with strong leaders. With Indira Gandhi also, that was the scenario at time. And the bond is not transactional, it is emotional in nature. So you may not see that, but you might be surprised that, oh, tomorrow the man is one with a larger mandate.
So the person who's voting for Modi, you don't think that they care about, when the opposition says that unemployment has gone up or inflation, their loyalty is like intact?
So ultimately, democracy at the end of the day is about getting the majority of the voters at the polling booth and making ultimately out of 10 voters, if you have 5 out, then you win the election. If imagine 6 people have voted and even if you have 3, you won the election. That's how democratic process is. So, and this is how it has historically been. Now, Narendra Modi in 2000, if you remember, in 2009, not Narendra Modi, BJP in 2009 got 7 crore 80 lakh votes. It jumped to 15 crore votes in 2014 and it jumped to total quantity of votes. It jumped to in 2019 to 22 crore votes, which means since Narendra Modi came into scene, the BJP increased its vote tally by 15 crore votes. Whereas the votes of the Congress party have been only between the range of 10 to 11 crore votes. And if I talk about percentage, the BJP increased its vote share from early 30s to 37%. So these are voters who are not ideological in nature. It's not that they have historically been with Modi. They have seen Modi's delivery and been with them. As of right now, the issues that the opposition is raising, those might be legitimate issues on the ground. But people see that these issues, even if they exist, the person to solve them, the credibility quotient of Narendra Modi to solve them is more than of the Indian opposition. And as I tell you that people don't vote confusion, people always want clarity. And at the other side, there is no clarity of leadership. And this is a big issue that this is a big factor that the issues which are raised by the Indian opposition are still not able to translate into voting margins for them. Number 2, a large section of people on the ground in the rural areas have seen a lot of delivery of government schemes being taken place. Please understand that if a politician or a leader or a government stands with you in the time of your need, at the time of your despair, the voters never forget it. So at the time of COVID, when 80 crore people were given ration, that was a big issue. So that was a big factor, positive factor. So even if midway in the campaign, the Congress party promises 10 kgs of free ration every month, Why does not it translate into votes?
Because it's just a
know
promise right now?
Because people know that Modi is giving us 5 kgs per month,
Anyway,
and he has been giving it. So why should we ditch him?
The opposition has also accused the election commission of being biased, and they think that this current regime has an unfair advantage in terms of they've called it a match already fixed. Do you think the elections have been held fairly?
Absolutely, yes. Mr. T.M. Seshan was the election commissioner at a time. Historically, he was a very celebrated election commissioner. Please Google and find it out. He fought on a Congress ticket after that.
Yeah.
Now, if that does not take away the credibility of the election commission at that time, what is the merit of the
Basis
argument?
of this argument.
Let us look at the merit of the argument. The arguments are basically primarily based on two large points. The government has strangulated the election commission, and B, that the entire scheme of things are not free and fair. Now, election commissioners in this country historically have been appointed only by the government, historically since independence. Narendra Modi became the first Prime Minister of India who said that I will have consultative mechanism to appoint the election commissioner, and I will have the leader of opposition, a minister, and the
Chief Justice
and the Prime Minister himself. Earlier, the Chief Justice in the Supreme Court said that we also should become a stakeholder in the decision-making process. But the government then brought a bill and amended it. And then again, it was challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court went with the government stand. Why? Because in the Constitution, Article 324, the power to appoint the election commissioner lies with the executive. Narendra Modi is the first man who ensured that the opinion of the leader of opposition is also taken into account. Okay. Every state election commissioner is appointed by the government of the state. So if all of this is fine, the man who's brought the election process more consultative, how can that man be accused of, strangulating the election commission? So it does not hold ground on facts. Now, the same election commission has conducted elections in Himachal where the Congress won, conducted elections in Karnataka where the Congress won, conducted elections in Tamil Nadu where the DMK won, conducted elections in Delhi where the AAP won, conducted elections in Bengal where the TMC won. So if the same election commissioner, the same election commission, the same process were applied then, why is it that at this moment, if the Indian opposition parties are feeling that, the public may be with Narendra Modi, you are looking at an alibi in order to validate your stand. So what are you trying to do is you are trying to delegitimize a verdict which can happen on June 4th, which can go against you and morally delegitimize it. This is not very democratic because governments win and governments lose. It is a part and parcel. Three decades back, the Congress party was a 400-seat party. Today, it's not a 400-seat party. So things change in democracy. Public opinion change. But you cannot villainize the democratic institutions based on things which do not stand the merit of facts. So that is my issue. And even on the election commission part, let us understand it. If the voters want an individual or a party, election commissions don't fix elections to shift that verdict. It is as simple as that. So I don't know where it is coming from.
And the EVMs, you think this is the best way to vote? Or
Absolutely,
you think the ballot is better?
So the EVMs part. See, an Indian EVM is a machine. If you remember, the Indian Election Commission gave a challenge to all the parties that if you believe the Indian EVM can be hacked, please come and hack it. None of the parties accepted that challenge. Multiple times the petition has gone to the Supreme Court of India, and not once has it stood the merit based on facts. An Indian EVM is not a device where you can enter a signal. It is a standalone device.
You can't hack it.
A standalone device cannot be hacked. After every election, the Form 17C, which is given to the candidates, the vote, it is signed by the candidates. The votes of the EVM are tallied. Everything is happening. The same EVMs, you see, with the same EVMs, all the opposition parties have come to power.
Have won also.
50% of the state governments, just a year back, had opposition governments with the same EVMs. So just because if Narendra Modi is winning or has won the election, you can't blame the EVMs for it. Why do you do that? Because you want to morally delegitimize the victory, and you want to ensure that perception is still with you, even though a man has won popular mandate for the third consecutive time if it happens.
And looking at the India bloc and the NDA, what are the numbers that you're looking at? First the entire country, and then
so I will not, because we have the exit poll coming on June 1st. I may not be able to comment on the exact number, but what I can tell you for sure is that the verdict will be completely clear. It will be
It won't be a coalition.
It cannot be a coalition.
Okay.
It will be a clear verdict. Absolutely clear verdict. Indian coalition, it will be an alliance, but you will see a scenario of one party.
A single majority party.
Absolutely, yes.
And that is BJP, according to you?
More likelihood for the Narendra Modi to cross majority. In fact, I would put a probability of more than 90% to that.
Okay.
And if that does not happen, then they will fall less than 200, which I don't see on the ground.
So you think it will be an extreme?
Absolutely, yes. It cannot be. It is always a strong leader. If you remember Indira Gandhi, when she lost, at that time, when she had imposed emergency, she did not lose because of the effort of the opposition at that time. She lost because of her own mistakes. And at that time, she lost one way and the other alliance got full majority. I am quite convinced, seeing things as they are across the states, I see that Narendra Modi will come back as the Prime Minister and a full majority Prime Minister. And this is not my individual opinion. This is what I have seen traveling across the length and the breadth of the country. Quantum, whether it will be 350, 300, 400, 272, 260.
Is 400 possible for them?
Difficult.
And what about UP? That's
clear verdict.
Clear
you
verdict?
Will see UP voting.
How many seats you think?
See, again, as I said, I will not be able to comment on the exact number, but I will be surprised if the Bharatiya Janata Party falls less than 65 seats in UP.
Okay.
I will be extremely surprised.
They got 63
Two last time.
Two last time. So they'll continue with their performance.
Become better.
Where do you think they'll will not do that well?
Karnataka compared to 2019, Rajasthan compared to 2019, Haryana compared to 2019.
And where do you think they'll increase?
Telangana, Odisha, Bengal, Uttar Pradesh. These are places where they can increase significantly.
So the number would stay more or less the same?
Can it be more also?
Can be more also.
Absolutely, it can be more.
What do you make of, you've obviously written about Modi 3.0. What is, you said the general public is very happy with the schemes that were given.
See, what
sentiment.
I'm saying that as lower in the socio-economic background you go,
He's more popular.
More is the popularity of Narendra Modi.
Okay.
Women of the country, 90% are with Narendra Modi. And this country is giving verdicts wherever the women of country have voted. So wherever the women of India have voted, that is where the verdict has shaped. And women are appreciative of the fact that Narendra Modi has improved their socio-economic life and given them dignity of living in the rural areas primarily. And in the urban areas, there is no one-way anti-woman vote for the BJP. It's a pro-vote, majorly. So if it's an urban area shift of 60-40 towards BJP, a rural area shift of 80-20 towards Modi.
Okay. And Rahul Gandhi, how have you seen his evolution with do you think this yatra has made a difference to...
It at least got the Congress Karyakarta charged up, no doubt about it. But every yatra or every political activity...
It won't convert into votes?
At some places it can, but largely I don't think it will impact the essence of what the verdict will be in 2024.
You think the urban voter votes more for him than the rural voter?
No, I think the pockets, as of right now, the data is suggesting that those who have historically been voting for the Congress are only voting Rahul Gandhi. So Rahul Gandhi on his name has not added a single vote to the tally of the Congress.
Okay. Whereas in Modi's case, people are voting for Modi instead of BJP.
More than BJP. Modi has added 15 crore votes on his name to BJP's tally. Rahul Gandhi has not added one vote.
How much has the Ram Mandir consecration made a difference?
It is not the only factor, but people appreciate that Ram Mandir and Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha happened and Ram Mandir has been built, and people give credit of that to Narendra Modi. So one important point which I was mentioning is that look at the data. Congress party vote in 2009, 14 and 19, it has roughly been stagnant, which means that since Rahul Gandhi has come in the national scene, he's not added any significant vote to Congress's tally. Whereas Modi has added a significant vote to BJP's tally. In fact, BJP's base vote was less than the Congress. It was 7 crore 80 lakh. Congress was at 10 to 11 crore. So there was a roughly 2.5 crore vote difference between the two.
Which is huge.
Which is a huge. And imagine that Modi increased it from 7 crore 80 lakh to 22 crore. Whereas Rahul's vote has always been around, Congress vote has around been 10 to 11 crore. So what is Rahul factor? It's a zero vote factor right now.
So if post-poll they do lose, let's say Congress, you think they should relook at their prime ministerial choice?
First of all, officially Rahul Gandhi is not
Yeah,
there.
he's not declared it, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, we do take him as a face.
That is the issue that the Congress has. That
They
think
should
that
declare someone like clearly,
yes.
you think?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. You cannot, India
Do
does
you think
not.
it shows lack of faith on their part? In their
It
leader?
shows a culture where you want power but you don't want accountability.
Responsibility.
Accountability.
Accountability.
Because if you are officially declared, then you have to take the accountability when you lose. But if you are not officially declared and still position yourself as the unofficial prime ministerial candidate of the Congress party, then even if the Congress party loses, still the buck will not stop with you. Whereas in the case of BJP, then Modi has been the official candidate. If he would have lost in 2014, his career would have gone down the drains. But he won. So he was fighting every election as a matter of survival. Whereas here, after losing 50 election also, why are you considering a relaunch? Is because you have made a mechanism where you have no accountability.
And what about Arvind Kejriwal? Do you think he is a strong contender going forward?
Any political party, in order to expand, needs three things: leader, ideology, and organization. The Aam Aadmi Party lacks organization across the country. The ideological voter of the Aam Aadmi Party is similar to the Congress. It is very, very difficult for the Aam Aadmi Party to increase its base across the country without the Congress plummeting.
Do you think it's difficult for any new party now to increase their base? Because,
not necessarily.
No?
As I said, AAP had a very historic chance. But every growth happens at the cost of anyone. So the growth of AAP has to happen if it happens at the cost of Congress. Then after that, you will see a vote shift if it happens from BJP to other AAP. But right now, with all this, liquor scam and other things which are Swati Maliwal and other going in the market, the perception of AAP, which was a party with a difference, has gone down.
Because they were considered flawless at one point, and they came
They
with that
positioned
promise.
themselves as flawless, as a party with a difference. But now they have positioned themselves as any other party.
Okay, coming back shortly to Rahul Gandhi again, his seat in Raebareli, what do you see as happening?
He might scrap through.
Yeah, he'll win.
He can win. Because the across caste there is still some amount of loyal vote for them. The BJP has fought a very good election, but that good election may increase that vote share substantially. But Rahul may still scrap through and get through the election.
And Maharashtra? Maharashtra is quite. There are a lot of seats where the families are fighting each other. What do you think of those seats?
See, Maharashtra historically, the politics has always been of clans, as you rightly pointed. But Lok Sabha wise, the BJP is fighting on 28 seats. Last time it fought on 25 and 24. So I don't see the BJP falling less than 23. I don't see BJP falling less than 23, 22 in Maharashtra.
Okay. Do you believe in the opposition's charge that if they do get 400, which you've said it's not likely?
It is difficult.
But do you think there's a chance that constitution would be changed? Do you think that charge doesn't hold water?
So the Indian constitution has been amended more than 100 times. Indian constitution, there is
all under the Congress government?
90% under the Congress government. A constitution amendment is a valid constitutional exercise. Basic structure of the constitution cannot be changed. The basic structure doctrine of the constitution was brought into place after the late Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi ji imposed the emergency, and she tried to bring in a provision where any article of the constitution could have been amended by the government. So the first government which trampled on the constitutional balance of checks and balance between the judiciary and the government was Indira Gandhi ji. And the Supreme Court finally, thank God to the great Keshwanand Bharti who fought that case at that time, the Supreme Court ruled that we will have a basic structure doctrine, the government cannot do so. So that is when really the strike on the constitution, if ever happened, it happened in the time of Indira Gandhi ji. Narendra Modi has been the most democratic Prime Minister India has ever seen. You abuse him, you are not jailed. you villainize him, you are not jailed. You wish for his death, you are not jailed. Whereas if you do it in any of the state governments, you will be jailed. Number two, who is the Indian Prime Minister who got the first restriction to free speech? It was Jawaharlal Nehru ji. Article 19B of the Constitution, which provides for reasonable restrictions to free speech, was
Under Nehru?
Under Nehru. And the first arrest of under this seditious charge or defamatory charge happened under Jawaharlal Nehru. So I am extremely amused when people say that Narendra Modi will change the constitution, where Narendra Modi has been the most democratic prime minister who, in fact, Narendra Modi is the only Indian prime minister who after 70 years celebrated the Constitution Day, which was on 26 November 2016 or 15. So he is the guy who has worshipped the Constitution, and he is the product of the Indian Constitution. Had the Indian Constitution not been in place, you would not have seen Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister. We are not a monarchy at the end of the day. So these allegations are extremely baseless, and they reflect the angst of the Indian opposition, because they are only left with one political narrative, which is the political narrative of inducing a supposed fear in the mind of the Indian voter in order to get votes. That's what I can say.
Talking about Mr. Modi's campaign, a lot of people are accusing him of, becoming nervous in the middle when he talked about the Mangal Sutra and, calling their manifesto Muslim League manifesto. How have you seen his campaign? You think there were parts where he could have done better? There were parts where, he seemed a bit nervous, or there were parts where he lost his original, what characterizes him as a strong leader?
See, so I am nobody to give advice to Modi or Rahul Gandhi. And I think politicians are the best.
How do you rate their campaigns, both of them?
If you look at it very, very dispassionately, I have seen 90% of Narendra Modi's speeches. 60% of those speeches have been on development.
Okay.
On, proving that how development under him has been better than development under the Congress. Now, Narendra Modi's charge of Congress practicing the politics of appeasement happened after the Congress Party's manifesto, which had this word called as majoritarianism, which implicitly majority in this country is Hindu. So this is where it all started. And if you remember when that statement of Sanatan, Mr. D. Raja had made that statement of, and I think Udinidhi Stalin of Sanatan is dengue, malaria, AIDS, none of that was openly condemned by any of the strong leaders, and the alliance still continued. So the recipe for Narendra Modi to mention that the opposition is appeasement happened because of the act of the Indian opposition not to openly condemn an anti-Sanatan statement. So I am not, nothing of this amuses me. Rahul Gandhi's state campaign has all been on the plank of inducing fear in the mind of the Indian voter.
The constitution will be changed
and all of it.
Democracy will.
Yes, so it is not. There are very limited takers of that on the ground. So this is why, if you see, they have started another narrative of saying that the EVMs are hacked, the election commission, the voting which are being added, the voters which are added, there is discrepancies
in the voters list.
So all of this is a ground that they are getting ready in order to morally still claim a high moral ground, despite, imagine if they lose on June 4th.
And do you think that this has been the most in your view, this election, there's been a lot of mudslinging, there have been a lot of counter charges from both sides. Is it one of the wildest elections that you've seen in a long time?
In the late 1980s, when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, Rajiv Gandhi the Congress manifesto had used Saap and Bichu as, Congress letters had used Saap and Bichu at that time. Please go and check it out. And had said that if you vote the opposition at that time, you will be voting the foreign powers. So I am not at all surprised with what is happening. Those who are practicing, those who are preaching morality should, self-introspect, and in fact introspect what did they practice when they had power.
And the regular voter, when you go and talk to them, do they understand manifestos? Do they see manifestos? No.
Very limited.
They are voting for people, they are voting for change in their life.
Welfare is the most important thing.
Welfare
then comes who can take the country forward.
And in your opinion, that's...
Not in my opinion. Based on the opinion that I've gathered of the people of the country.
According to your intel right now,
according
that
to
person
my data,
is... Yeah.
According to my data, people believe that person is Narendra Modi.
Okay, I know you do not want to give specific numbers, but just throwing a figure out there, the last number for NDA and the India bloc.
So the exit poll will come on the June 1st. What I can say is that I will be surprised if the mandate of 2024 falls less than 2019.
Okay.
So which means
303 they got.
Yes. So I will be extremely surprised. One phase is still remaining that if the mandate of Narendra Modi in 2024 goes below 2019, it will be very
So
surprising.
it'll be 300 plus for them.
There is huge chance for that to happen.
And Congress on its own?
I think Congress will be in double digits.
Okay. Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
If you liked the episode, do not forget to share it and also like, share, and subscribe to all our socials. They're all listed below.